let's wait just a second for Renee. Okay. Okay, it's 6:42. We'll go ahead and get this special called meeting. We'll call it to order. It's Wednesday, August 17th, 2023. Pledge of Allegiance is the first item. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jim.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's Thursday, August 17th. Yeah, it's what's written on top of here, so
I didn't see it gonna be
It
on
does say
radio.
Wednesday, doesn't it?
It was corrected, when it was, the one that was posted was corrected. I printed the wrong one off.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, so correction for the record, it's Thursday, August 17th, not Wednesday, August 17th. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, public comments. Kevin, anybody signed up you see there?
No, and there's gonna be another correction on item 3 where it says FY 23, it's FY 24.
Yeah, okay. All right, so meeting's called to order. This takes us to item 2, which is discussion and possible action regarding the approval of ordinance O-17-2023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of McGregor, Texas, adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning on October 1, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024, and making appropriations for each department, project, and account for said year in accordance with the city charter of the City of McGregor, Texas, and the laws of the state of Texas, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date. Okay, so at this point, this is our essentially last look at the budget. Last comments made about the budget. So Carolyn, we'll start with you, and then council, I'll open it up. So, Carolyn?
There have been no changes made since our meeting May 9th. So really the highlight are we still have a 10% increase in healthcare,
Who's providing the healthcare insurance these days?
United.
This is their second year? Third?
Third, I believe. A 5% COLA effective October 1. The TMRS change in our rate from 13.41 to 13.75. Our 42,000 for the tech stop signalization we included again this year. Our second year terminated siren program. We allocated the city manager, fleet mechanic, events manager, finance director, and assistant finance director personnel costs between funds. And that's at the bottom of each fund, you'll see how those were allocated, as well as across the list of employee positions. We added 2 patrol and 1 communications positions to the police budget, offsetting the officers with SRO funding for the school. We added additional labor to the street department and 1 laborer to the parks department, and a maintenance tech to utility maintenance. We increased water fees approximately 5%. We're doing 9 months with the increased blue bonnet rate, 3 months at no increase. Added 2 part-time positions to the exchange. And reduce their contracted services to help fund those 2 positions. And we, our current event coordinator, we're upgrading that position from part-time to full-time at the exchange.
Okay, so before we go on, I have a question about item, I don't know, bullet points 6 or 7 there about the patrol officer, SRO reimbursement from MISD. So let's talk a little bit more about, so the officer, I guess, spends his or her, the primary part of his or her day at the school from 7:30 to 4 o'clock, is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
And so how does the city, do we get any benefit from that? I mean, I know indirectly, anytime we have an officer at the school, the city is getting indirect benefit, but it's a direct benefit to the school. So what, do we get any direct benefit? For example, is that person available to us on off hours or emergency?
They are
or-
available to you at any point in time you need them. However, with the new state law, to pull them away from the school would have to be something pretty serious. You also have them weekends if you need them. They can pull overtime, they can do off-duty work, and you have them through the summer.
Okay, well, that's good. And what about, what's the payment arrangement then? What is the specific payment arrangement about who's paying and what's the share, or how's that working?
for the hours, we actually track their hours spent at the school versus
Right.
the hours at the city.
Right.
And so the school reimburses us for the hours at the school plus their benefits.
Okay,
It's a percentage per hour kind of thing.
okay.
Because they'll have to have two now, won't they? They have to have one up here, me up here.
Well, and that's why we put it in with the reimbursement, you know, so both have to happen.
Yeah,
Because there needs to be one at every school
yeah.
right now.
Not yet.
No, not
They,
yet.
they have passed a waiver, for purpose, whatever that means, so that they don't have to have one on each campus yet.
That's good.
Part of that's because they've got 3 campuses right together.
Yeah, they do.
Mhm.
And then part of it that, I mean, Dallas is passing this waiver because there's not enough people to go around.
That was gonna cost them so much money too, and there's not enough police officers in Dallas.
The state reimburses them, I believe, 60 grand an officer, so it's a partial.
State to the school?
Yes, but, it's gonna be a while before everybody's staffed fully. I mean, it looks like we're about to lose our existing officer to Waco's school, but we have one hired that's coming in. He's gotta get his certs in position, get finished up, but, he was kinda coming on board anyway, then he had to go away, and then he's now available again. I'll tell you later if you need to know, but very good guy, very good with kids, so we've got somebody to slide in pretty close to up front. And, you know, Chris is there now, so, he's starting the year off, and he may not get that job, we'll see. He has applied.
Okay, Carolyn, anybody else have any questions about what you see on the board there?
I wanna know what the 14.29 rate is for. I mean, why are we getting charged 14 cents more for the, increase on our water bill? What happened? To raise it that much?
It's 14.29%.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And that's because, Mr. Louis may wanna speak to that, but they had to go out for some bond issues. And so they have to be able
Oh.
to pay the debt.
And we've got it programmed to start in 3 months, but if he doesn't start paying in 3 months, he's not gonna done this, and we're not gonna increase until.
But
not just
what
the next
happened?
one.
I mean, did the water,
How
have to
many?
put some lines in
How
or
much are they
what?
spending?
There's 7 miles of water line that needs to be replaced between our main transmission line coming out to McGregor and Spring Valley.
Oh, okay.
Maureen area is growing so much that we cannot get enough water.
And they are growing. You're right. Okay, I just wondered what was happening.
And we essentially, Kevin, is the idea, 'cause I know you sit on that board, right? You have a position on the board.
Yes, sir.
So we essentially, it's just a pass-through for us? I mean, it's not as
Yes.
if we're
Yeah.
upcharging and making money off that
Correct.
increase, are we?
I just wanted to know what.
Yeah.
Straight pass through
what
for us.
caused it.
And when is the last time we've had an increase for Blue Bonnet?
I can't remember. Couple
It's been a
years
while
ago.
though, right? I mean,
Well, we had a small increase
2 years ago?
when Brazos River Authority,
Yeah.
renewed all their contracts, essentially upping our cost by 142%. And then, prior to that, it was 10 years.
Yeah, it was 10 years. My first meeting, we had a 5% increase that was proposed at a 10. And then we didn't do anything until that Brazos deal, and that was about 3 years ago, I think. You've been in pretty good shape, but this is a big hit. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it
be
is.
It is,
recovered.
I just wondered.
and again, I think we all expected at some point we were gonna incur a big increase. And we haven't had a significant increase in a long time, and we know that inflation's going up, and you gotta increase your infrastructure and your capital expenses at some point. As a city, we certainly do it.
You went a long time without it, and you're still paying that price quite a
And
bit.
I remind everybody of this often. Yes, I do not shy away from the fact our water is expensive. We probably, per gallon, have the most expensive water in Central Texas, I would venture to say. But we have a lot of water also, where everybody else is under water restrictions. I can't remember the last time we were under a water restriction.
You're under one currently, but it's voluntary, and, we went to level 3 in 2011.
Yes.
Which would have been the
think.
worst,
But
probably.
we didn't in 2021, or what was that? Yeah, so it was 2011 the last time until, for level 3.
And when I say a
We're
lot
not
of
there
water, I also refer to how much availability we have for future growth. And again, feel for our neighbors to the north, Crawford, but if anybody's looked in the newspaper, literally can't even water their football field. They're going sucking water out of Franklin tank to water their football field. That's what can happen when you don't have enough water. And so,
Oglesby's in the same
yeah,
boat.
Oglesby, any small town, we are fortunate that we are considered by most markers a small town still, but we have a lot of water availability. Yes, it's expensive, but I'd rather have expensive water than no water. And again, that goes all the way back to 1989 when we entered into a contract with Bluebonnet Water Supply Corporation. We got more water in per acre feet than any other entity. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, we still hold more acre feet in that Bluebonnet Water Supply system than any other entity, right?
That is correct.
So we can continue to grow, people can build homes, industry can still come in. Otherwise, you can have all the land you want, but if you don't have any water, you can't grow a bit. So, again, no one likes increases, but I think it's better than the alternative, which is no water, so.
But Lord, we could use some rain.
Oh my gosh.
I pray,
Yes.
Lord, rain, use some rain.
Yeah.
Kevin, when do we think as a city too that we may, do another water study versus, on
Yeah,
the
we're
rates?
overdue. I wouldn't know what to tell you, maybe next year. It's, we're probably overdue. We actually have a supply capability study going on right now with, Walker Partners for the industrial park. And Bluebonnet's also doing one for resources of theirs, so we'll get some information and data there before we do our other.
No, that sounds good.
You can't look ahead far enough. Lake Belton is probably one of the better performing lakes in the state, but that's gonna dwindle.
Yeah, if everybody's watching the lake levels right now, percentage-wise, Lake Belton's suffering more than any other lake in our area, whether it's Waco, Whitney, Aquila, and that.
Stillhouse is really in bad shape.
Yeah,
They're at 4.
Belton I saw is, 20-something feet down, whereas Waco is 9 feet down.
How far do we have to go in the reservoir before we hit stage 3?
That'll be another 3 feet.
Yeah.
It's taken us all summer, and well, most of the spring, to lose the 2 feet that's sending us into stage 2. So I
Hmm.
think we have a little while. We don't need to panic yet.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. And then we also have water availability from wells.
A little.
A little, not much. I realize they're old and we don't
Well,
spend a
they-
bunch of money on them
the,
anymore.
Southern Trinity doesn't let us take much more water out of there.
And then we've got, access to Waco in some areas of town, so.
And they have access to us.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the first time in 15 years probably, Woodway's actually drawing water through the pipeline. And they're not drawing their full deal yet.
Yeah.
But what they're not using, the way we're working at, is, they're paying, Waco, I guess, is paying their bill. That's the simplest way to put it, even though on paper it's more complicated than that. And they literally never see that water. And we're trying to figure out why Woodway's still on the system, because all their water's coming from Waco.
Yeah.
And they have some advantages in doing a standard contract with Waco, but they'll be looking at that soon enough. We'll see what happens.
Okay, anybody else have any questions about what you see on the board? We'll let Carolyn flip the page, and as questions arise, ask them. Anything else? Yeah.
Okay. There's our summary of our each fund showing, our revenues, expenses, and our debt service all combined. And there's the chart for our combined revenue for all funds. Our expenditures by category, and that's across all funds as well, so that we can see where our different dollars go. And then we have our tax capital rates, and what the savings would be
Yeah, hang on to that a second. So everybody look at the, that bottom line there. So that bottom line, that was last year's rate, correct? The 0.54695, is that what I see?
Mhm.
Yeah. And everybody understands that 39 cents that you see in the first column, that's the operating, that's the maintenance and operation figure that we call it pays for the day-to-day operations of the city. That and along with primarily our lease income and proprietary funds, what keeps the city going daily. Then you got your general obligation debt service, that's the portion of the city taxes that are not necessarily governed by state legislature as far as you can raise more money in the form of debt service tax dollars. So we have 15 cents that goes to pay our debt service for a total rate of 54695, and that's essentially what it is this coming year. Is that correct?
This coming year is .54359.
Okay. So it's reduced just ever so slightly. And then going across, just for comparison, you can see if someone lives in the city of McGregor, last year they paid 54 cents a hundred in city taxes. Your school taxes are $1.11. And then you jump across, you got county taxes of 40-something cents, and McLennan Community College under 14 cents. And I forgot what the total add up. It used to be around $2.40 a hundred. I don't know. But anyway, people ask you all the time, you know, what are your taxes in the city of McGregor? If you add them all up, you're about $2.40, which is a little less than what you'd be in Midway, because they pay more in school taxes, and considerably less than what's in Waco, because their city tax rate is usually 70-something cents, whereas ours is 54 cents. So, again, no matter where you are, you're paying plenty in taxes, and I think as a council, we're always mindful of that.
But also looks like this would be what, our third year that we've actually lowered our tax,
Oh, yeah.
our tax rate, so.
More than that, I think.
Well, let's see, 60, 60, 60.
.6 for a while.
Yeah.
Gradually.
The lowest I've ever seen it in 20-something years was 53 cents, and that was a long, long time ago, so we're hovering right around that.
That
54.
chart's in that audit that you got right there.
Is it?
Back in the
Yeah.
back. At the back end of that audit is filled with all kinds of fun stuff to look at. If you
Yeah.
get a chance. It
So
really is.
again, and that's the benefit of continuing to put more economic growth on the tax roll. That growth through the taxes that companies pay, that generates more revenue and allows us to do a couple of things. Keep steady or even reduce the tax rate, and with that money, we can provide more and hopefully better city services to our people. That's the idea. Okay, Carolyn, keep clicking.
And there's your, assessed value and estimated actual value of taxable, real property.
Wait, go back one, because that's 20,
That's the 22 fiscal year, but your tax year is considered 21. Remember that, like, on your this year's, it'll say it's the 23, but it's for fiscal year 24. I had them add that so that it would be less confusing to everybody.
so in a roughly 10-year period of time, we've probably grown our tax rate by 100, or tax base by 120%.
And now it's 720. 722 million.
722 million from 2013, so that's, 350% roughly. So we've experienced a lot of growth around here. And our appraisal district, you can't ever forget that, the appraisal district has certainly increased everybody's values. We all know that, anybody that owns a house or a lot or a business. our appraised values have jumped significantly during that time as well.
And all due to oversight by the state comptroller.
Yeah, when, 10 years ago, when they came up with the idea to, what was it, roll back school taxes and do it with, instead with corporate tax, and that had a huge shortfall. So instead, they had to make the money up with, jamming up everybody's property tax rates to create the same amount of money that they were not getting through the corporate tax rate anymore.
Lots of unintended consequences.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's the general fund debt service, you'll see that our tax rate is set to collect the 1.6 million of all of our debt payments for this next fiscal year that are not ran through the water and sewer. And then there's total of all of it, including water, sewer, everything. And then there's the general fund revenue, so this is just strictly general fund, and that's revenue by source. And then we have the general fund expenditures by department.
All in your budget.
Yep. And then there's the capital outlay request, and then what's under the deferred column are things that we pushed out for, to look at again next year, because we're not budgeting for them this year. See, the general fund portion is $446,500. And then there's the utility fund, so you can see what we've got going on there, and the 4 departments that we have within the utility fund. Their expenditures are. Do that. And then their expenses by category. You'll see there's a lot of contracts. Which is, a lot of that is our water and our garbage, you know, those are big ticket items. And, there's the,
That's the same one.
yeah. And then there's their capital that, we're trying to do this year as well.
Hang on just a second.
And one of them is well 1B repairs, which is, we just talked about the well needing to be fixed.
Whew, that's expensive.
Mhm.
So does that operate at all right now?
No, that well has had junk dropped into it since before I came here. They basically abandoned it, but it's, salvageable, and actually, that's out at SpaceX, or on the system out there, and that will help us keep that system up whenever they're using a lot of water and take less from Blue Bonnet.
But still metered, right?
Oh, yeah, it's all big.
Metered and paid for.
Oh, yeah. Paid for very well,
Yeah, yeah.
but it helps take a little pressure off Blue Bonnet.
Yeah.
Not much, a little.
Yeah, we need to use it, get it fixed and use it. Okay.
And then, that takes us to the airport. Then you have the cemetery, which we budgeted 75,000 out there. And then that's our capital, sort of our last capital worksheet from the county. And the last page of it has the
Okay, Carolyn, do you have anything else to talk about, budget-wise? Okay, so at this time then, we will open it up to any questions that council has. Questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. So y'all take a minute to fire away on anything that hadn't been brought up or that has been brought up.
I just have a concern or a request. I don't know what you would call it. But can you show me where in the budget, well, it looks like for construction permits, this year so far, we have brought in about 563,000, correct?
At that time, yes.
At the time we made the budget?
Right.
Okay, and then, but so far too, we've also had expenses of, at the time I requested it, about 574,000. Can you tell me what, that one was just for our contract services that we have that review our plans?
No, that's total, that's all permits.
No, but the expense part, that I requested the other day from Buena Vista's, was it, is that what you call them?
Bureau
Bureau
Veritas.
Veritas.
Okay, I'm making up my own names.
But yes.
So is there, I guess my question would be, is there any way we can maybe get someone here that actually just works for the city who could be our plan reviewer, do building, or our building official, instead of us having to contract that out? I mean, that's a lot of money.
So hang on a second. When you say the number,
Mhm.
Bureau Vista, and Carolyn, correct her if she's wrong in the question I'm asking. So the contracted service is, we are paying somebody else $500-something thousand?
That's, okay, you're in a different ball field now than you used to be. You've got Knopf going up and out there, and you can't do that. You have to have a team of people that's what they do. Messer's in the same situation, Allied's in the same situation. And to answer, quite frankly, we have a guy on staff that's doing the little stuff, and he also manages the airport. But he's good enough to come in and do some of the little things. All you're giving to Bureau Veritas is the new houses and the major projects. And you make, except for your industrial stuff, Knopf specifically, you make 15% on that deal. Whenever you charge, when they charge you $100 for something, you're charging $115 to help offset the front staff. The level of review you have, you can staff up for it. And the other part of that is, those people are so much demand statewide. Bureau Veritas alone, and there's a couple of other companies that aren't quite that big, are literally vacuuming out all the talent. I mean, we have Barry because Barry's been around and doesn't want to do that. But a good example is we lost Brian Eads as fire marshal and code a while back. Brian's just gone to work for them as a fire marshal. In fact, we're having to change the way we pay him to be a fire marshal, to go through them. And he's also training to be plumbing and electrical. So it's
So it
The
sounds
answer
like
is-
it's almost a break-even situation.
it is, but the hardest part's getting the talent to come fill the job. That's
So would
actually
we not be
qualified.
better off, though, if we had at least one person, one real paid person? For example, Mike left. We've never really replaced Mike, right?
Well, Bureau Veritas replaced Mike.
Yeah, but I'm
plus a
not
whole
talking about,
lot.
I'm talking about city employee.
Well, you've got Barry who does it now part-time.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm asking is, would we be better off at least getting one real certified person and then sub out what we needed to sub out? You don't think so?
I think at the level you are right now, you'd have to have 3 full-time people to come close to doing what they do, and then you'd still have to send out the plans review. You're not gonna find anybody qualified to do plans review on these kind of buildings that they're doing.
So like, I mean, I don't know what would a good code are they code enforcers? Done a $75,000-$80,000 job plus 25% in benefits, you're
Yeah.
looking at 100 and something?
At least.
So you're looking at 100 and something per person. you know, if you had one, two of them, if we had two on staff, I mean, if we even allocated the money in the budget by saying, okay, instead of spending $500,000 with Veritas, we'll allocate $200,000 or $300,000 that within the budget, could we even find the people to hire them?
Probably not at this time. Everybody's having a hard time filling that position right now, and if you have them, keeping them is not too easy.
So go back and compare the numbers again. What's the actual cost versus revenue on that? I mean, literally, is it a total wash?
No, it's not a total wash. So we have other things like infill, and we may have some, permits looked at, but, so we don't get revenue from that.
Your entire infill doesn't charge for permits. So anybody that does an infill project, you don't charge them for the permit. That's part of the way you get them, entice them into doing it. But overall, it's gonna be just about break even, even with what you make off of them, except for some of the bigger stuff. The thing is, the best you could hope to do is have one full-time person that's doing nothing but your housing, and then keep Bureau Veritas busy on all the commercial and.
So is
large
that
projects.
what you just mentioned, is that an option?
Not today, but it might be. I mean, we could take a look at that.
Well,
I'll also tell you that Waco has just hired them to do their overflow.
Hired Veritas?
Because nobody can keep up. Veritas is doing most of everything in Central Texas and most of South Texas too, and a lot around DFW.
Sounds like we're on the wrong business.
Well,
Yep.
the thing you have to understand is the folks that you hire to do that, if you're gonna hire one guy like you had with Mike, he's a plumber, he's an electrician. I mean, he was your stormwater, permit guy. I mean, he has several levels of certification. That's why they hired him to run what he's running.
Yeah, here's the equivalency for me to this situation. If I saw that we were paying Charlie Olson $550,000, because that's what I do as city attorney, I would say we need to hire a city attorney. We need to hire our in-house own city attorney if we were outsourcing $500,000 plus. And that hired city attorney wouldn't be able to handle everything because you're gonna have lawsuits and whatever else that a city attorney would not handle. I mean, Waco, they farm out their lawsuits to other city lawyers, but in the end, hiring a city attorney and farming out pieces of it would probably save money if in fact we were paying Charlie Olson's firm $500,000. That's all when I hear that number, I'm equating that to, look, these are hired professionals. I think we ought to look at hiring an in-house hired professional and farming out the bits and pieces. The overflow, like you're talking, Knopf isn't always gonna be here.
No, and therein, the big expense that you're looking at is not inspecting houses or plumbing.
Right, it's the big projects, right?
The big expense is not inspecting that, although it's much more expensive. The big expense is plans review, which has to be done specifically by engineers that do those things and understand those things, that understand all the building codes. And when you start doing a Knopf, that ratchets way up. That's what you're paying for. When you do have that stuff fall off, you'll be back to normal.
So does Veritas, do they have engineers on staff also?
And if they don't have them, they hire them. They'll subcontract out when they need to. I'm pretty sure they had to subcontract.
Yeah, all I'm saying, that's just
subcontract
passed
on
through their bill onto us though, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we gave up when Knopf came through the door is the 15% write-up. It's a straight through. That was in their deal. It's not anybody else's, I don't think. I don't recall putting it in any other development agreements, but that one was one thing that they asked for that we gave them. They're first in the door, so they got good stuff.
Well, I only bring it up because, again, I would like to at least try to maybe see if we could get somebody skilled, in that position that, could do what we need them to do in-house. I understand if we need to contract out, but I know we've got the budget, but even still, like, if we could bring somebody in and see if we can get somebody who has, those skills of Mike Olson and pay them a good amount of money to do what they do, and they just be on staff. I think that would be good for the city.
Before Mike left, you had 2 full-time people doing that, Mike and Barry.
And Brian, oh, okay.
And Barry, not Brian. Brian was code enforcement, that's weeds and grass, old houses. I'm
Which is
talking
what
about-
Paul's doing now.
Yeah, I'm talking about professional inspections. Your housing is picking up. You'd probably have to have 2 full-time people, and you're looking at a couple $100,000, $250,000 total,
Mhm.
which is half of what you're, it's almost like we get that for free from Bureau Veritas, because that's not where the expense is. The inspection expense is on the big stuff and stuff like this warehouse out here that they're building, which has been a joy. But those things take time and effort and specifics. I'll look around, and I'm pretty sure you're not gonna find anybody, because they and all the other companies are hiring them up like crazy.
Well, it's more than just hiring. I think it's also, which I would agree is probably difficult, but I think it's also an assessment of, it's a financial assessment also. It's not just can I hire them, but does the hiring, if we found a good person, the right person is qualified, then does it make financial sense? On the back end, would we save any money? That's also gotta be part, not just can we hire the right person, but does hiring the right person make a difference at year end on the budget?
Okay. It's not costing you anything now.
I know, Kevin, but if we're spending $500,000, and if we go hire someone for $120,000, which includes benefits, then maybe that $120,000 person knocks $200,000 off of contracted services. Again, just like the lawyer, you got the in-house counsel captive to the city who does all the city work and knocks out all the contracted lawyers. So I can go hire an in-house counsel lawyer for $200,000 and knock out the $400,000 that I'm paying to the lawyers who are billing me $450 an hour. And in the end, you've saved $150,000 in your budget because you went and hired your own captive lawyer. That's what I'm equating it to. And again, I don't know the analysis. I'm just telling you that's what happens.
Okay, I get it. I'll take a look. I'll do an analysis.
Yeah, the
for you.
analysis,
But
right.
what you're gonna find out is, it ain't costing you much right now, and if you did just the houses, if you did just the home construction, you're probably gonna spend more money. Because you're not gonna take $250,000 off your permit cost, because that's not where your permit cost is, that's not where your inspection cost is. But you're gonna add a couple of full-time people.
So you'd have a couple of full-time people, $220,000 roughly
And-
to your
and-
budget.
And your home inspections are probably costing you less than $100,000 now.
And so then
Maybe.
you still, you're saying you would still have you'd have $220,000 on your budget, and you would still have a significant cost that you are contracting out. So when you added that significant contracted service cost plus your new budget cost, you think it exceeds what we have now in the budget of 500-something thousand?
Pretty sure it would.
And that's the question.
Yeah.
That's the question.
And again, it's a service that you're not paying for, other people are paying for it. In order to offset your upfront cost up here, you're making 15% except on Canal
Yeah.
and on your giveaways. And it's not costing you anything, and any efficiency you gain probably will. They're sending inspectors out here a lot more often for that stuff out there that slide by and look at the other stuff and do inspections. I mean, so, you know.
Are we ever at a time, for example, I haven't gotten complaints from builders, I don't know if y'all do in town or, at City Hall, for example, when I think also of contracted services, a lot of times there's a delay because, well, they don't really work for the city, you're not their boss, whereas when people work for you, you can say, hey, go address that, I need somebody to go address that subdivision, that developer, that home builder, whatever, whereas when you have a contracted service, they show up whenever they can fit it in their time slot. So do we ever have a problem with not having the availability?
Well, scheduling's a problem for everyone, and Bureau Veritas is not any exception. However, they do pretty good. What we have in that regard currently is Barry. I mean, that's one of the things we have Barry for, is if we need to address something with the storage buildings out there, he can go by and stop them. In fact, we've used call Estrada for that a time or two, just because.
And they're qualified or
Oh, yeah.
certified, whatever to do.
They can go handle a cease and desist order pretty easily, but, if you got something going on that has to be done right now, we can shut the job down pretty quick. But in the end, you try not to do that. You try everything. In fact, that's the only area we've had any issues with whatsoever that I know of. Now, that doesn't mean people don't complain.
Yeah.
Contractors complain all the time.
Yeah, no, I realize they all think you're supposed to drop whatever you're doing right now.
It's the kind of challenge we want to have.
Yeah, I was thinking even the big number is the kind of thing you want to have, because that means you got a lot of growth going on.
The engineering reviews are what's making that number so high. It's not like you've hired an inspector.
I see.
These people are doing things that inspectors could never do. They're doing engineering reviews and safety reviews and structural reviews on iron that most inspectors have never even seen.
And I venture to say this is the highest that line item has ever been in our city budget.
You know, you'll hit well, chances are at some point in the future, you'll hit a point where that draft crosses, and you'll be able to go back into the business. But I almost don't want to see that, because that would mean statewide, it would be an interesting situation.
Okay,
As long
well-
as you've got acres out there to build on, I hope we have this issue. And we still got a lot of acreage to build on.
Well, it's valid discussion, all good points. Just, Kevin, I would say, consider the analysis of whether it makes any financial sense. And if it does, can we find somebody? And if it doesn't, we keep doing what we're doing.
I will do an analysis.
And do we also need to maybe look at or I'm pretty sure you guys do it all the time, our construction fees?
We're pretty well locked in with Waco and the area, is what we try to do.
Okay.
My planner submitted something that went up the other day. I asked him to go do a comparison. He says, "What?" But he's new, and so he now knows to go do a comparison to tell me whether we should or not. And you'll be seeing the fee structure very soon. We do it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes right after the budget, right? Soon.
It should be coming real quick, along with appointments to boards and commissions.
Fun times.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. What other questions? Anybody else see anything that struck you? Anybody?
Did the city pool, did that get pulled from the budget, or was that there? Did I miss it? It was there?
It's in the capital.
I thought it was, and when you said that there was no change, I just kind of assumed it was still there, but I remember when you were rolling through that, I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah, it's still in the general fund.
Angela said we're gonna build a splash pad on it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
You're in trouble.
Let's see.
The capital for general fund. That's waters going and stuff. Going back. There you go. It's under Parks Department, the very first thing.
Oh, there it is.
See it?
So that's
It is in there.
100,000.
Yeah, she had said 85 to 100, so.
I thought she said 120,000.
No, that's what I had originally.
Oh, okay.
And then she said 85 to 100, so.
Okay.
And I needed that money for
A
something
little bit
else.
better.
So I'm
Hopefully by
like,
the time we do it, it won't be 150.
I know, who knows? Yeah. Those are the way prices go up.
Okay, thank you.
What else? Anybody? Okay, doesn't have to necessarily kill the discussion or questions, but let's get a motion on the table and then move from there. Is there a motion under item 1 by ordinance number? Item 2 by ordinance number?
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance of O-17-2023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 2, which is the approval and adoption of the budget. And Carolyn, now by your instructions, I don't see that we have to say anything, or do we?
Yeah.
Okay. It's all been posted correctly. All right. If there's no further discussion, the vote, and is this vote a roll call or not?
No, the tax rate is.
Okay, so, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 3 is discussion and possible action to ratify property tax increase reflected in the fiscal year 23 budget. So there is nothing to state on this one as well. And the property tax increase, again, that's a touch misleading. The property tax rate is not increased, but the property tax revenue is increased. That property tax revenue is increased from additional property placed on the tax rolls and whatever increase everybody suffered as a result of your property values being increased. So, anybody have any questions, comments about that? And Carolyn, is there anything else we need to discuss or name on item 3?
Just be sure to say FY 24 budget.
Yeah. So let me reread that. It's discussion possible action to ratify property tax increase reflected in fiscal year 24 budget.
And it was posted correctly. I just printed the wrong
Okay.
copy when I printed it out.
All right. All right, so is there a motion under item 3?
I make a motion to approve to ratify the property tax increase reflected in fiscal year 24 budget.
Motion is second on item 3. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 4 is discussion and possible action regarding the approval of ordinance O-18-2023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of McGregor, Texas, approving the 2023 certified tax roll for the City of McGregor, Texas. So is that date correct, 2023? That's where we stand today currently, right? Okay.
That's what they said, yes.
All right, so with that, before we can approve that ordinance, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give this to the Mayor Pro Tem, Paul. You'll need to read off what I have circled there. That's the proper language for the motion.
Right
So-
here.
Yes, so if you'd make that motion, then we could talk about it as we need to.
You can do it. Okay, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.543591, which is effectively a 15.01% increase in the tax rate.
Okay, that's it. So is there a second to that motion? All right, we got a motion, a second to that motion. Again, that reflects exactly what we talked about, except.
Sherry, second?
Yeah, yep. Again, tax rate goes down a little bit, tax revenue goes up quite a bit. But it is not a rollback rate,
Right.
correct, Carolyn?
Correct.
Well, it is the original rollback rate. It's the rate that you can adopt that where they can't roll back.
Yeah, okay.
What's it called now?
Yeah, what?
Voter approved.
Voter approved, that's right. Okay. All right, any other questions about item 4, for which we now have a motion on the table and seconded? Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 5 is discussion and possible action regarding the approval of ordinance O-19-2023, An ordinance of the City Council of the City of McGregor, Texas, adopting a tax rate, providing for the assessment, levy, and collection of ad valorem taxes for the City of McGregor, Texas for the year 2023 on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city as of January 1st, 2023, which are not exempt by law, and providing for revenues for the payment of current municipal expenses, providing for the collection of taxes and the enforcement of collections, and providing an effective date. Is there a motion by ordinance number?
I make a motion we approve the ordinance O-19-2023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 5. Are there any other questions? And I tell you what, just to make sure we've got this right, so one of the recitals, or a couple of the recitals under the ordinance, I'm just gonna read this out to make sure it's in the record. It says, whereas this tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate, and whereas the tax rate will effectively be raised by 3.5% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $37.02. Actually, it's a decrease, so that negative is correct. So even though, again, it's raising more taxes, it's gonna lower someone's tax bill unless your appraised value was significantly or increased
Well, I didn't move it from the M&O, it's talking about M&O
to the debt side. Okay. Part of the ordinance also, under section 2, is the City Council, City of McGregor, Texas, does hereby levy and adopt the tax rate on $100 assessed valuation for the tax year 2023 as follows. That's .314143 for the purpose of maintenance and operations, and .229448 for the purpose of principal and interest of debt of the city, for a total tax rate of .543591, and 10 cents for the purpose of public improvement district per $100 assessed valuation on those properties within the public improvement district. So that's what's in the ordinance relating directly to the tax rate. There's a motion, a second, on that ordinance O-19-2023. Is there any other discussion?
And so you said this one is considered tax year 2023.
It's tax year 2023.
Okay.
It's fiscal year 24.
Okay.
It's always 1 year different.
Okay.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Carolyn, no, we gotta go back and do one of these by roll call, right?
The one before this one, the tax rate was by roll call.
That's item 4. We need to go back? Is that right?
Or, I mean, it's supposed to be by roll call.
Yeah, we'll poll the council.
Do it.
So let's roll this back.
The one that Mr. Allison did, I moved the property tax rate.
Okay, so you'll recall, Paul read the, ordinance, or read the motion.
Sherry.
Sherry seconded. So under that item, I'm gonna poll the council. Councilman Allison,
Aye.
under ordinance O-18-2023, regarding the tax rate, your vote was?
Aye.
Councilman Adams, Councilman Flores,
Aye.
Councilman Henderson,
Aye.
and Councilman Dushman.
Aye.
All right, there we have it. The ayes have it unanimously for those voting. And to the extent I did not vote, mine would be aye also. All right, so that takes us to number 6, announcements from the city manager.
I really don't have anything to announce. I do want to point out to you that the last 9.5 pages of your packet this evening is the computation for the tax rate. When the PVTO legislation was passed and implemented, I think in '89 or '90, it's been a long time ago, that computation page was 1 8.5 by 11 page long. In their infinite wisdom, the legislature keeps complicating it. Every time they do something, it adds another page or two. I'll also point out to you the absurdity of a couple of things that are involved. First of all, this was 2 years ago that there was a session, it wasn't this last session, it was session before last, or was it before that they put forward the, what's the rate increase that we never adopt? The de minimis?
Yeah.
the de minimis rate that everybody can adopt without any trouble at all is how much higher?
It's to raise 500,000 or.
You can raise another $500,000 just by adopting the de minimis rate. So you've got all this trouble to keep it at 3.5%, but you can do the de minimis and just do it.
You can tack on another $500,000 for without
No
any
problem.
consequence.
And, okay, I mean, how do you get from where they were supposed to that? I just don't get it. And then, another great example is, everybody's talked about, communities going into debt, communities going into debt, communities going into debt, tax rates going up. But the very formula encourages you to put more on debt than it does operations, which eventually is gonna choke the horse. And so some of this stuff just baffles me, and I just kinda wanna point that out to you, and now I'm gonna hush, I've had my rant.
But that's right, you can put all the money you want on the debt side and 3% on the maintenance side. That doesn't make sense. So, okay, Kevin, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, council, comments from the mayor and/or council.
I would just like to say, I know we're in budget time, and again, I appreciate Kevin and Carolyn, and all of y'all's work on the budget, and then also for considering the 5% for employees, just because I know everything is going up right now, so I hope they're also taken care of, because they're taking care of, our town. But I did want to bring up maybe possibly on appointee positions, if Kevin, if council could do evaluations, or maybe we put it on an agenda in the upcoming, I don't know, next month, where we could also do evaluations for the appointed positions, if that's okay with Mayor.
Yeah, you're talking about appointments where the council, for example, our appointed positions are really hired positions that the council hires, or city attorney, which kind of sits off by itself, city secretary and city manager.
Correct.
Correct? Yeah. Let's see, I don't know, it depends how long the budget will be, or not budget, the agenda next time, Kevin, if you can circulate circulate the sheets, and if we don't get to it in October because of we're in August, we can do it September or October, either one.
Angela will send all the stuff out.
Yeah, send it out, and I'll get with you on the timing of it, whether it's September or October, regular meeting. Okay, anybody else have anything? All right, I share with Angela, I always know with Renee, the budget is a ton of work, everybody. Kevin, Carolyn, Brian, Andrew, Chad, all you guys that are department heads, I know that's a ton of work to get together, and then you had the audit on top of that, so we all greatly appreciate all the work that you put into it, overseeing the best interest of the city, where we spend our money, how we spend it, so thank you all very much. Okay? Greatly appreciate it. All right, whatever's on the board up there I like. Good night. Meeting adjourned.